All right, last bit. 18 hours in. You guys ready? 9 o'clock.
Good evening, everybody. And we are going to be wrapping up with our last, my gosh, roundtable for the night. And we just had a great session with evanixusa. That was pretty awesome. And we are going to wrap up tonight with Hawke Optics. Before we get started, I want to definitely say thank you to all our sponsors. We have the Gateway to Airguns, we have Airguns of Arizona, and we have Predator Pellets, the official pellet of Airgunexpo 21.
That's right.
And also in the hot seat, he doesn't know, he did not know that that's what he was signing up for, is John from Hawke Optics. They make some incredible optics. We had a studio segment with them today. You guys, if you didn't catch it live, we're going to be publishing it, posting it up there. So definitely go back and take a look at some great stuff. We talked about some great optics and how to use them on some great air guns, and not just air gun scopes, but other optics as well. John, I'm going to kick it over to you and say, what's new at Hawke?
So for this year,
Check your mic.
He's live.
He's live. Okay, good enough. Thanks. Just wasn't very loud.
so for this year, we released 2 new Vantage scopes. And so we're doing a 4 to 12 by 40 and a 4 to 12 by 50. Now these are the non-AO versions. So
Okay.
they don't have adjustable
Objectives.
on them.
Mhm.
Non-illuminated reticles. So they're very price point optics,
Probably pretty light then too.
very lightweight.
Yeah.
Lightweight, and they just have the simple duplex reticle, so it's great if you're just going and using it as like a squirrel hunting gun.
Yeah. Simple.
Yep, very simple. Then another new thing that we released is our LRF rangefinders. So we wanted a rangefinder that would be price point for guys that don't want to spend the $300 plus on a rangefinder. So these actually, we do a 400-yard model and an 800-yard model, and they retail at $129 and $139.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Wow. That really is inexpensive.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we're done.
All right. Well, that was great, John. Nice ride
Well,
home.
great to see you
All
guys.
right, so so there's some folks here that don't have a lot of experience with Hawke Optics. Joe was one. He was shooting the Sidewinder today and said, "Hey, man, I think I might have to get me one of these."
Yeah.
Joe, when you were looking at that scope, and we were talking the other night between first focal plane versus second focal
Yeah.
plane, and I'm trying to remember, were you more a second focal plane
Second.
guy?
Yeah, I'm a second. focal
Okay,
point person.
and why is that? Is there a particular reason?
I use second focal when I hunt. I don't worry about having a first focal plane scope to zoom in or zoom out. And I usually keep my scope on 10 anyway.
Doesn't matter then.
Right. But the Hawke was really nice, and at 24 power was amazing. You cannot believe how
great
clear and
magnification.
clean that glass is zoomed in like that. It's amazing. So yeah. And then John had to push the rangefinder in my face and the binoculars. So yeah, I'm getting a prepper's kit from Hawke.
Kim, yeah, with the additional SWA ultimate prepper package with the carbine or something like that. or
Brought
something
to you
like
by AirgunWeb.
that. Yeah.
And
So,
Hawke.
yeah,
Available at.
yeah, exactly.
Rick's garage.
What besides? All right, drink your coffee.
Trying.
Yeah. Anybody else that, like, I know Travis, you didn't have a lot of experience with Hawke until you started shooting some of my stuff. When you were out, you tried the Frontier. I mean, what got your attention with the Frontier line?
Well, actually, I have quite a bit of experience with Hawke. I've used Hawke for years. The Frontier I have never used
I got you.
before. though.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had Hawke rifles. I mean, scopes on my rifles for a long time. The Sidewinder, the original Sidewinder, when they first came out, that was spectacular at the time. You know,
Right.
It was a true scope for an air rifle,
Right.
which no one had really done. You know, something specifically made for an air rifle. So, yeah, the first Sidewinder when they came out, I thought it was a game changer for me personally.
So compared to that first Sidewinder, you've had a chance to shoot with the new Sidewinder.
Oh,
since
yeah.
You've been here.
Oh, yeah.
And what do you think about it?
Well, the new Sidewinders have one better glass than the
Right.
original ones did. They have way more options available too. You know, if you're a clicker,
Right.
You know, if you're a clicker, I'm not a clicker though, but if you are one, you can look at your turret, count the marks up you have and get right back down to your 0 again, or, you know, so it gives you that window to look at. I thought that was pretty
The window
ingenious.
is awesome.
Right.
You know, I've never seen that on another scope. Maybe it does exist, but
Mhm.
it's a real good thing if you're a guy who likes to spin the knobs. Some of the other things, the clarity at distance is way better than the original one. Like they were talking about zooming out in the full magnification, you would
Right.
not get any halo or fish eyeing. It was edge to edge perfection, which is pretty hard to do. You know, that's not
Right.
something that's easy to do. Using a full size 30mm tube.
The lightness of the chassis is what got my attention
Yeah,
on the Sidewinder. The
That was one
reduction
of
in
the
weight.
big changes that we made on the Sidewinder. Just being able to lighten that chassis up.
Is it lighter than the original one?
It's lighter than the original one, and it's just as strong.
Yeah. Okay. I don't
Huh.
have the original one. I haven't had it in a long
Mhm.
time, but what really got my attention the last time we were here was the Frontier. The clicks, how audible and how sharp they are.
Right.
You know, spectacular. The field of view, the lightness of that scope. I love the reticle. The reticle, I think, is what really sold me on
Right.
that. Because I like first focal plane. These guys, everyone here are second focal plane people, but I like to. No, I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying.
It's like being
I
a second. That's like being a
What do you
second.
mean, you
citizen.
people?
Look, I'm a first focal plane person too, Travis. It's all right.
Yeah, but
You're not alone.
I
man.
like a
Rocking
first
a
focal
hard
plane
place
scope.
here.
I use them almost exclusively. So for me, it was fantastic to have a really nice first focal plane scope with a lot of mil dots and a lot of directions where you can use it. So I really like the Frontier.
A lot of reference marks, but it's not busy.
Right.
Yeah, it's
not
not overly
busy.
busy
Right.
too.
You know, a big
Um,
problem that you have with a lot of first focal plane scopes is when you're on your lowest setting,
Mhm.
it's so small that you cannot make out the
Yeah,
reticle.
you can't make out the reticle.
And then when you zoom up to full power,
So thick.
it's so thick it covers up your target,
Your target, yeah.
and it's not very crisp inside.
Yeah, they nailed it
And
though.
with the Frontier, you don't have any of that.
No, you don't have that. And like you said, for me, I don't have very good vision. So, you know, wear glasses. But when you do go down and that reticle shrinks down, I can still see it crystal clear.
Right.
You know, in other scopes where it gets really small, it's terrible. But worse than that, like you were just saying, is when you zoom in and then you just hid, you know, the squirrel behind
Right.
the reticle.
Well, it looks
you know.
like you're shooting through 2x4s.
Yeah, so
Right.
so it's just a good blend of everything in that Frontier. I like it personally better than the Sidewinder, and you know, for those reasons.
Right.
Um,
And you know what the Frontier also gets, the Sidewinder doesn't, is the zero stop.
yeah, the zeros.
So if you
reset.
are a dialer, you know, just
Oh,
pop your turret up, make your corrections. Then when you go back to reset it,
yeah.
it'll stop at your zero.
And the Frontier's a little bit more money than the Sidewinder, right?
It's
yeah.
a little bit more money, but you get a lot better glass with it.
Yeah, the glasses.
So
that glass is
Sidewinder-
what sold me.
Right. The Sidewinder comes in at 18 layers multi-coated,
Mhm.
where the Frontier is 21 layer.
Yeah, it's really sharp. It's almost like 3D. It's so sharp. And when I looked through it like last time and then this time, I just knew, man, I have to get this scope. I got to
Well,
get this.
I got a
scope.
little,
So I
little
did.
note for you, Travis,
Yes.
that there's a Frontier with your name on it. So you
I know.
are taken care of. My
Yeah,
friend.
I know. That's
Angie,
great
do you
of
have,
those
you had
guys.
a comment down there? I
question?
thought you were good.
Yeah.
Hold on, Angie, you want to say something? Go ahead, Angie.
I just want to stress the importance of a good optic because I test different air guns and some of them come with an optic and I can tell a huge difference in the accuracy when I switch to one of the Hawke Optics
Right.
from one of the ones that it comes with. So a good optic is, I mean, it can make your gun shoot so much
Optics
better.
matter.
Yes, optics.
Absolutely.
matter.
Optics matter. Which I've seen that on a lot of factory guns that come as a package with a scope on it. A lot of times that's a place where they can find that they can cut cost.
Of
Just by
course.
putting, okay, a little bit cheaper scope on it.
Well, some
And-
may not know that it's the scope.
Right.
Some might think it's the gun.
Right.
A lot of times it's the scope, guys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we got a question.
Is Hawke developing a 1 to 8 or 1 to 10 LPVO for air guns?
That is something that we have been talking about. And do I think it'll happen? Yes. When? No idea. But definitely we are looking at getting more into the LVPOs. And right now we have the 1 to 4s in our Vantage and our Endurance line, the 1 to 6 in our Frontiers. But we are very strongly looking at doing a 1 to 8 and 1 to 10.
That would be impressive.
That would be impressive
Mhm.
because it's a pretty hard thing to do.
Right.
Let me ask you, is a 30 mm tube your largest tube at this point?
Currently,
Yeah. Are you planning on coming up with a 34 or 35 mm tube?
I would really like to see a 34 mm tube.
Yeah. So would
And,
I in that Frontier package.
Right. I think, well,
Boy,
I'm
the
seeing-
picture with the light and the picture
Right.
would be.
and if you look at the trend in optics, it's the larger the tube is becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick here because you guys, we all know why that matters. But I
Right.
bet you there's some folks out there that don't know that it's less about the objective and more about the tube size. So if
Right.
you get a 50 mil objective and a 1-inch tube, you may actually be hurting yourself versus going a 40 mil objective in a 1-inch tube.
Mhm.
Because you got, well, I'm going to let you tell them why, because I'm going to do your job again. And then also why then you go up to a 30 mil tube, why that's so much better. So why don't you tell them about why those distinctions are important, especially when you're looking at maybe a lower price optic versus a
Right.
higher price optic.
So I hear a lot of people, I get asked, oh, I want a 50 mm objective or I want a 56 mm objective because it lets more light in. Well, your light is limited by your tube size. So the larger tube that you have, one, you get more light coming in, and two, if you do dial, you'll get more travel out of your turrets. And just being able to, the difference going from a 1-inch to a 30 mm with letting the light in is a huge difference.
I have a scope with a 35 mm tube.
Yeah.
And it seems like it clicks forever.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a big thing if you're a clicker. But it is so bloody bright and the picture is so big inside of that tube, it's
Well, the other thing,
awesome. So I
that
would like
happens,
to see you guys jump
Right.
even above that to maybe go to a 40 mm tube.
it's
Just
4
go
foot
past,
long.
go past everyone,
4
just
inch.
blow right by them. you
Hey,
know?
Rick, do you sell 2-inch rings?
I do.
Sweet.
I think the other issue, and I'll just maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but when you have this 50 mil objective and that light has to bend down to that 1-inch tube. So
Right.
what you're dealing with is you're having to bring that,
Yeah,
you're kind of
shield it.
constraining that. It's like having
Right.
a big
It's a
thing is
funnel.
going down into a tiny little garden hose.
Right.
Where the bigger tube doesn't have such an extreme in the having to bend the light to make it go down that
Right.
tube. And the same, that's why, look, we sell one of the scopes I was going to talk about because we haven't talked really much about it at all is the strength of the scopes and how, if somebody asks me about what do I put on my brake barrel, I always recommend the Hawke Vantage IR. We'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
But one of the things in that is I do stock the 50, the 4 to 16 by 50,
Yeah.
primarily because people have to have that 50 mil tube. I wish our 50 mil objective, I wish more would realize that a 40 mil objective may actually give them better
Mhm.
performance than the 50 because it's not having to bend that light so much.
Right.
So when you have a 30 mil tube, then all of a sudden the 50 or larger becomes more practical. But you're doing some gymnastics, some light ray gymnastics, trying to get them to wedge down that tube.
Right.
So anyway,
So did you say you were working on one bigger tube?
Believe one is in the works. I hope,
Okay.
and not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure one's
Yeah.
will be in the future.
Yeah. It makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. Makes perfect sense. I mean,
Just
like,
to follow the trend. with
just to
optics.
follow the
Yeah.
trend and to keep up with the Kardashians, right?
Right.
You got to keep rocking ahead and
But kind of with that, the tube size and the just allowing you to see more. One thing that Hawke does that not many other companies do is a lot of our scopes have wide angle lenses. So you get 20% more field of view than you would with one of our competitors.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's been around for a while. You guys have been doing that for
Yeah.
a good bit of time. I get this question often, being a brake barrel guy back in the day. I don't shoot a lot of them anymore, although I'm getting back into it. They trash scopes.
Oh yeah.
They beat them up really bad. And the transition to gas ram has made that worse because it's even a sharper recoil. I mean, you guys may want to argue that, but the physics don't lie. A gas ram has a sharper recoil than a spring. And it just tears up scopes. But I found, the one of the ways you can sort of endure that, and the endurance line, you can endure that is to
Only at Hawke.
or have a great advantage on your rifle. It's getting slapped
It
at
is-
me now.
it
But he
is
said
getting
the
late.
coffee has not made it. The caffeine is not yet metabolized.
Damn it, Rick, tell us.
I know it is.
He lost his train of
Is
thought.
is the etched glass reticle
Yeah.
helps. Got it out.
Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor.
That's great. Thank you. Give it all she's got, Captain.
Predator will no longer represent this group.
But the etched glass reticle, you guys have that all the way down into your vantage line, which is
Yeah.
your affordable
No,
line.
Joe, I don't know.
And anything that you guys have, you guys behave yourselves. Anything that you guys
You
have
started
that
it.
has an illuminated reticle is etched glass.
Is etched glass.
And I think
Okay.
that's a very important distinction because if you're looking for a scope that'll hold up on your brake barrel, and you're looking at, gosh, here's a scope. It's $189 or $219. That's sort of where those Vantage IRs sort of live in that range.
Right. They come in under $200.
Yeah. You're looking at that and you go, gosh, it's a lot of money, but it's an illuminated. But if you realize that all their illuminated reticles are etched glass,
Mhm.
that's a significant distinction.
Right.
And that is worth saying, all right, well, that might actually hold up.
Right. You talk about the brake barrels being
Yep.
really hard on rifle scope. I'm very new to air guns. So I think the first time I really got to shoot some of these big bore air guns and really air guns was like these that we're talking about is the last time I came down here to see you.
Right.
And so I've been into this for about a year now.
Okay.
And I remember the first time that I was ever at SHOT Show, this guy came up to my booth and he asked me, "Hey, are these air gun rated?" And I'm thinking, okay, I think I can put one of these on my Daisy Red Ryder and shoot it just fine. Yeah, yeah, it's air gun rated. I don't get it.
BB guns.
Yeah. It has been coming down here and listening to you guys has been like trying to take a drink out of a fire hydrant.
Yeah. We do what we can.
Yeah. But I've learned a lot in what it takes to actually make a scope built for an air gun that'll take the abuse.
Yeah, it's worse than a firearm.
Yes.
Well, spring guns and
Spring
gas
guns
ram
really
guns,
Right.
they are. The big bores and stuff like that aren't any worse on a scope than
Right.
any rifle, but the springers and the gas piston guns have two motions,
Right.
so it's trying to tear the scope apart in both
Right.
both
Both directions.
directions.
It's a different kind of recoil that you get with just firearm where you're used to, okay, the recoils, it's blowing back into you and that's it.
Yeah,
With
this is
your
going forward
springers.
and backwards.
Right.
Yeah, so it tries to tear things apart really well, and it does a good job on scopes.
Yeah.
Especially with wire reticles and
Right.
poor craftsmanship, and it'll knock lenses loose, everything. So
I've had scopes come apart in my hand.
Yeah.
I've had looked on it, shot it, and there's one particular brand I won't mention who sent me some scopes I was going to try and use for an event, and they just sent me a bunch. They said, "Oh, you should be fine." And well, I was shooting an Ultra Magnum, and
geez.
within 10 shots, the reticles. It's like, I quit. I'm done. So they got tossed in the trash and went on the Hawks. And I mean, I don't think I've had. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've had a Hawk break on me on my brake barrels. As long as I'm using the wire reticle, or
Yep.
excuse me, as
The
long as I'm
etched
using the
glass.
etched glass reticle, I've not had a Hawk scope fail on me. So
Good deal.
I'm
So
Well, if
why-
you ever do, we do have the
that
lifetime no
warranty,
fault
right?
warranty.
Right. Yes, Angie.
Why does the etched reticle last longer? Why does that? What
I'll
is
let,
an
I'll let
etched
John
reticle?
answer that question.
So with the etched reticle, it's actually etched onto the glass, and a wire reticle is just that. It's a wire that's formed
Glued
into
on.
that reticle, and it's just glued onto the glass. And with the very destructive force of y'all's air guns, it is very easy to shake that wire loose.
And it's
There
more
you go.
expensive to etch the glass
Yeah.
Yeah,
properly
yeah.
than
Oh,
it is
yeah.
to throw a wire in there. That's why
Right.
they're more money.
And now you know, and knowing's half the battle.
Well, I already knew what it was, but I thought maybe there were people out there.
Oh,
who didn't.
that's
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
Rick and I had this conversation the
We
other
have
night,
had this
right,
con-
Rick? Back
we
me
have-
up,
we
please.
have-
There you go.
We've
Hold
had,
it-
thank you,
hold it
Angie.
against
Thank
Rick
you, Rick.
again.
She's just trying to help other people out, unlike some people like Joe holding pellets. And all kinds of
She's
stuff like
helping
that.
me out.
She's helping you out, helping you learn.
Yeah, I'm kind of
All
like
right.
John with the fire hydrant.
Is it this, Sue? Literally, I'm gonna ask my wife a question now. Isn't this the kind of discussion that you've always wanted to be part of to better understand? Never mind.
No,
Just stop.
absolutely. I'd
better
rather
understand our
have this
industry.
than sit there for an hour and hear them drone on about some sort of thing that I'm like, I don't get it. But you ask questions about things that are real life questions that are, look, take it back to the basics. Pretend I'm a 4-year-old asking this question and tell me the answer, because I don't hang out with guns all day. I'm not around them. I don't know what is cool and not cool about them.
You're cool.
Okay, Travis, you don't know me well enough.
Oh. Well, you're right. Just getting back to the basics and just being able to answer those questions. Because I know guys that have shot for 40 years that don't really know those basics, the insides and outs of like a rifle scope.
Sure.
And I hear a lot like, oh, my $100 scope that's going on my $1,000 gun is just as good. The gun does all the work. Well, not quite.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
I did an article recently. I thought it was a good series. It was for Airgun Depot, and they're actually a dealer for your products.
Right.
And I said, I pitched this article idea to him was what's better glass or better gun? So I did this series. I took a couple, like an affordable gun, a really expensive scope,
Mhm.
and an expensive gun and a lesser, both Hawke scopes, just a different end of the price range. And you know what shot the best? The expensive gun with the expensive scope. Just saying. Because the lesser gun shot okay with the expensive scope, and the expensive gun shot okay with the lesser expensive scope.
Mhm.
But the best combo was the expensive gun with the expensive scope.
And where
Would
can
have
we find
never
that
guessed.
article?
Yeah,
that
who would have
combo.
thought that?
It would be on Airgun Depot. I'm not sure if they publish it. I write I have a bunch of articles for them every month. So if you go and read some of their definitive guides, and I've actually just did an article on Hawke Optics for their website. So
Good deal.
yeah, I do write a bunch of stuff for them every month. So, but I thought that was funny. Glass really, really, really does matter. If you're shooting at 25 yards, less so. Okay, if you're
Right.
just backyard plinking and you're not match shooting, you're not 25-meter bench rest shooting, for example, competitively, and you're just shooting the little spinners or something like that.
Mhm.
Look, you can get by with a lesser expensive scope.
Right.
But if you want to stretch it to 75, 100 yards plus, the glass and the clarity really starts to matter at that point.
Right.
You have a question?
My
saying is you can't hit what you can't see. Yeah, Larry's saying you can't hit what you can't see. We need to get him a mic. Go ahead, Sue.
Are digital electronic optics becoming more popular?
Good question.
Mm.
Hawke, anything? Do you have anything that's not optical that in the works that you can tell us about?
So the things that we've really been working on right now is our red dots.
Yep.
And just trying to really bring those up to par. And with our recent release of our new endurance line, our Vantage line of red dots, and our new reflexes, I think we're there.
Okay.
And we can
I was
definitely compete
impressed.
right now.
Yeah, I was impressed with that large windowed one you had
Yep.
today.
Yeah.
What,
Our
what
new
was that?
It was our reflex wide view.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And your
65
pricing is
millimeter
not
screen.
Mm.
No.
terribly expensive. I mean, it's reasonable. It's actually very inexpensive for what I think you get. But in the market, I found Hawke to be like, And if you're an air gunner, you start with, and I'm not going to name a bunch of other brands, okay, but you
Right.
start here. Maybe you start with a bundled optic. Then you
Right.
go into Walmart. You oh, that's $70. You buy that,
Yeah.
and then this is $130, and you walk your way up, and then all of a sudden you realize, gosh, Hawke is so expensive, and then you get them, and then before you know it, a Hawke's going on everything,
Right.
because it is you get more into the sport. It's worth the investment to have that.
Yeah,
correct?
I agree with you, Rick. And that's similar to my journey. I walked my way up into the gun line, right? From really low budget entry level gun, and then worked my way up to really high dollar. And I did the same thing with the scopes, actually. As I worked my way up to the more expensive
Right.
guns, I worked my way up with the more expensive scopes. Because with the increased ability of the better gun, I needed increased ability with a better scope. And they kind of just work hand in hand, you know.
Right.
You don't want a $3,000 rifle and a $100 scope on it,
Right.
you know.
Which I've
You're
actually
not taking advantage of the
had
situation.
a friend from South Africa actually told me that. He was, he's like, when I came to America for the first time, I realized Americans will buy a $1,000 gun and put a $100 scope on it. In South Africa, we buy a $100 gun and put a $1,000 scope on it.
What he needs to buy
Yeah.
is a $1,000 gun and a $1,000 gun.
Right.
Or SWA.
What
There
is,
you
what
go.
is your most expensive scope that you make?
That is currently our Frontier. It's our first focal plane, 5 to 25 by 56, 30 millimeter tube, and it retails for right under $1,000.
Yeah, that's a great scope.
Oh, it's just packed full of features.
Yeah, it sure is. And and with as many features as it has, it's still light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what gets me.
Well, it makes such a huge difference, and I didn't realize it till I started getting a little bit older.
Mhm.
How much ounces count?
Yeah, it
And
does.
just being it's just a couple ounces lighter than this one. Well, yeah, if I'm having to walk around with this thing,
Or hold the gun up for a long
or if
time.
I'm shooting freehand,
Yeah,
that makes a huge
it
difference.
makes a big
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Any questions over there? Okay. What about you guys? You guys
Yeah.
are in here. Any more questions for Hawke?
Yeah, John, where are you guys located?
So our home office is still in the UK where we were founded,
Uh-huh.
and then our US offices are in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And we were talking earlier today, and you guys, because of your UK establishment, you're still able to get product.
Right.
And these other companies that are struggling to have product on the shelves and get product out isn't really your problem so much.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been able to stay pretty steady throughout this the past year and a half. Really been able to have product in stock, been able to get stuff shipped out. Now there's wait times on some things,
Sure.
and that's just part of the industry right now.
Right.
But we've really been able to overcome it and work with our team in the UK to make sure everything flows pretty smooth.
Well, that's fantastic, because it seems like everyone else is struggling handily, and you guys
Right.
are doing well.
Sue,
Do you guys have a retail store where people can actually go and put their hands on these things?
So we don't have our own retail store, but we have hundreds of dealers all across the US that you can go into and take a look at some of the products.
do you have a dealer locator on your website where they can
Yes.
put that in?
So if
Or
you go to
check
our
that out.
website and you can click on our dealer locator tab and just put in your zip code, and it'll show you the closest dealer to you.
Okay.
And we update that very regularly. So
Is there a way? No, I guess never mind.
great question.
Well, I answered it in my own head before I got the words out.
Yeah, I got you.
It's getting late.
I was going to ask you, John, what is your role at Hawke Optics?
So I am the regional sales manager for Texas and Louisiana. And I travel all around both states, seeing dealers, coming and hanging out with you, and getting to play with all your toys.
Yeah,
that's
anytime, man.
fantastic.
Sounds like a rough job.
Anytime.
It is terrible.
Is
you
there
know?
other dealers that you really like to go? You go, oh, I can't wait to go down there because this or that reason.
Oh yeah, I have a bunch of dealers like that, especially in Louisiana because they always feed me.
Oh,
And,
see, now
you
there's
know
a good
that,
reason to go to
Cajun food is
Louisiana.
good.
Yeah, so you might, make an extended trip when you
Right.
didn't really need to sometimes. Yeah, I see.
Especially it's crawfish season down there.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I'd spend a little extra time there the last couple months.
Yeah. tell the old boss, I haven't seen those guys in a while. I might want to check in.
It's almost been a week.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to hand deliver this order.
Right.
I'm going to jump in on this one part because I mentioned it in the studio segment, but I want to mention it again. If you want to know more about Hawke Optics, I mean, you go to their website and you can certainly contact them that way, but you can also go to the airgunexpo.com, and at the bottom of their profile page in the virtual booths is a form. So if you're a consumer and you want to talk to them, you can get some information. If you're media and want to get media information from them, you can. And if you are a dealer that wants to carry Hawke products, you can do that too. So you can reach out to them in those 3 different ways, and that email will go directly to their sales team and you'll get a response fairly quickly. So if you want to know more, you want to connect with them to be able to sell their products. And as a dealer, I would say it's well worth your while to do so. Great products, great margins, and they take care of the little guy, which I'm very appreciative of. Make use of that. They're a great company to work with for sure. So any other questions, anybody?
That's one thing. We love working with the little guys. We're not really in the big box stores right now. I think the biggest big box store that we're with is Shields,
Mhm.
and they're not very prevalent, especially down here in the South. We just got one in Dallas, and I couldn't tell you the next closest one,
Yeah,
but it's pretty
gotcha.
far north.
And your job is to really, what's the right word? Cultivate those relationships
Right.
with the small dealers. So you actually go and do FaceTime. And I don't know that there's a lot of people today that are actually
Right.
running the roads like I know you do. How many miles you put on last year? Or well, last year was maybe a bad year, but how many
Well,
miles did you put on?
A lot. I was looking the other day, and I've stayed since let's see, from last June through December. I spent 120 nights in hotels.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that I think really says it talks a lot about the commitment to
Right.
cultivating those relationships with dealers.
Right.
To me, that's important.
And that speaks a lot about Hawke as an organization, that they allow their reps to go out and do things like
Right.
that. I don't think that's the norm in any field out there.
Right. I mean, especially in the last year that we've had, it's been really tough for a lot of people to travel.
Mhm.
And that's been a huge benefit for me living here in Texas, being able to just get out and hit the road.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, any other questions? Anything online or anything here from the panel? John, you have any questions for us?
I don't think so.
All
I
right.
think you guys answered everything.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to say thank you for coming and spending not only tonight with us, but today, this afternoon, and getting in the studio and bringing some more cool toys for us to play with
Always.
a little bit. And I'm glad you got to play with some more toys too.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, maybe
well,
I can sneak back by tomorrow.
it would be nice. We'll be here all
Tomorrow,
week.
There's going to be
baby.
a lot of cool things happen tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun over the next couple of days. Definitely join us tomorrow. We're going to be starting up probably normal time, about 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock. And we are going to be starting with our live range segments. We do have a bunch of companies that we're going to be showing their products off and shooting air guns. And the next 2 days is all going to be range time.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
looking forward to the next 2 days.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to shoot a
Very
lot of
jealous
JSP
all
pellets
y'all right
man.
now.
Yeah, it's
Do we have a
it's
schedule,
spectacular.
like times that those are going to be yet, or are they currently like they were today, kind of flexible?
I think the schedules that you have online right now are going to be pretty close. But
I'll be
because
updating it tonight.
because we did all the studio stuff, normally we would break after lunch and do studio things at lunch. But what we're going to do now is, because we have this extra time, we can go ahead and do our normal schedule, but then we'll have the entire afternoon to go back to the range and do extra
Live
stuff.
range
Oh,
that-
darn.
So yeah,
and maybe
right.
some bonus stuff. too.
Yeah, I think we're looking to do some bonus stuff.
Like
too.
Yeah.
blow up more cans.
We need to get some.
We're
cans.
gonna blow.
Send
we
somebody
plan
for
on
some
blowing
tomato
some
paste.
stuff up.
So
Well,
Yeah.
and be sure to like the AirgunWeb Facebook page and you'll be notified when we
Right.
go live.
we are doing all of this live on Facebook. I mean, this we're doing on YouTube. And I'm not going to muddy the waters with an email I got here recently on that whole topic, but I want to keep it positive with regards to having Hawke here today. So thank you, John.
Thank
And
you,
we will
John.
see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Join us. And I hope you guys are enjoying the Airgun Expo. Again, thanking our sponsors, Airguns of Arizona, Gateway Airguns, Predator Pellets, the official pellet.
That's right.
of Airgun Expo 21 and Hawke Optics. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.